Carlos Calcio Corner, episode 12. Cristiano Ronaldo, has he played his last game for United, taking away the shine from Alejandro, taking the shine away from Alejandro Garnacho. A wonderful late winner against Fulham. Against Fulham. Cristiano Ronaldo off sick, doing a Piers Morgan interview. Obviously, in his defence last week, a couple of weeks ago, it now seems like it's burnt bridges, it's all over. What's your initial reaction to the Cristiano Ronaldo Piers Morgan interview and how it's happening?
I think the interview, I think it was coming. He's not done an interview for a few months now, and United have been playing almost every week, and I think a lot of people did want to hear what he had to say. He was kind of teasing us when he was saying things like the truth will come out, and people need to hear the truth, and I'll tell them the truth. But for me personally, there's a feeling of disappointment that when he returned to the club, when he returned to Manchester United, I was delighted. I was really, really happy for him. And despite obviously Solskjaer getting sacked and Ralf Rangnick coming in, he still had a good season, and I was optimistic about how he performed under Ten Hag. But for me, I just think for him to say anything negative about Ten Hag, that's what's disappointed me the most, because I think Ten Hag, I think any manager coming into Manchester United has got a tough job to do, and I think his first 6 months or so have been fantastic, and I think he's handled Ronaldo well, and I think we saw that with him giving him the armband, despite all the antics and everything that's gone on this season. Now, I do empathise with Ronaldo. I do empathise with him. I empathise with him in terms of his child that died. That for him to just even return to football after that is incredible. And we kind of got a sneak preview of his professionalism.
Yeah. Well, he said he didn't feel the full support of Manchester United
and listen, we'll never know that until he tells us which person that he believes didn't believe him. But I think on that situation, I think it has to be a communication error between the parties, and I think the communication between United and Ronaldo has not been the best. But when you've got a player, or you've got a person who's got almost 500 million followers, they're going to be difficult to manage at the club. Remember when we had David Beckham at Manchester United? He was unbelievably famous, and he was tough to manage then. Obviously now everything's evolved, and you've got this guy, this global icon, and Cristiano Ronaldo returning to the club. And like I say, he's not had the best start to the season so far. And hopefully, he'll do well in the World Cup, and I sincerely hope he does. But overall, with the interview, I'm just disappointed, and I think he could have handled it a lot better. I didn't think he had to say anything negative about the manager, and everything else that he said, we already know that anyway, don't we?
Was he just trying to manufacture his way out of his contract into a new situation in the best way he knew how?
I think, obviously I can't be sure about what his offers were when he was saying that he had offers to leave, but what I am sure about is that they couldn't have been straightforward, or they couldn't have been as lucrative for him as he would have liked. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have taken it. So I think what this has done, it's given him the perfect time to have 1 or 2 weeks of spotlight, and then obviously you've got the World Cup. Now, if you look at this Portugal team, with or without him, they're a very strong team anyway. So he's got a real chance now at having a great World Cup, scoring more goals, getting more records, and perhaps putting himself in the ultimate shop window for a move. And I think if he hadn't have done the interview, or even if he did the interview but he didn't release it when he did, I still think that was his. I still think that was his plan. If he wanted to come back to United, he didn't have to do that.
Where I felt like he was being ultra petty and dropping his class was the Rooney, when he was saying Rooney and the other rats. And I'm hearing him refer to them as rats.
I think a little bit of that. First of all, I agree with him saying that when you've played with somebody in a changing room, it's difficult to hear them criticise you because they know you as a teammate better than anybody else. They're the people who train with you day in, day out. They see you suffering, they see your pain, they see your joy. And you'd like to think that you're friends and therefore they know each other's families. And I think that's what Ronaldo was alluding to. And you can understand why Rooney, when he came out and criticised Ronaldo about his age and that he couldn't fit into Ten Hag's system, it was just him being honest and giving his opinion. But for Ronaldo, if you don't think that he's the greatest player in the world still right now, he's just not on your page.
He's not giving you handshakes or hugs, is he?
No, you've got to be saying that he's still the greatest player in the world. Because I don't think Gary Neville's done anything wrong.
No.
I mean, he's a journalist at the end of the day. He's supposed to give an opinion on football, and I heard his response to the interview, and I loved it from Gary. I just thought that was class, the way Gary and the way Rooney answered him when he said, "I hope either him or Messi wins a World Cup. He's finding it difficult." Listen, I've had to stop playing football. I hated it. One of the worst things I've ever. You're not playing as much as you used to, and we're not even getting paid, but 500 million or whatever it is a week. So you can imagine the emotions that this guy's going through. You saw it we've seen it with Francesco Totti. When he retired, he's had this issue now with his wife, and he found it really hard to retire. So
yeah,
I do get that from a footballing perspective.
I think on Cristiano, since he's come back to United, there's the way that I kind of look at sports, elite sports, the comparisons, and there's always that kind of desire in me to, where does he stand? Where does he rank him? Because he's in the conversation of greatest United players, greatest players of all time, greatest athletes. He belongs in them conversations for his body of work and what is achieved, let alone some of the quality, the Porto 40-yarder, the overhead kick at Juventus, some of the technical excellence he's demonstrated. So I'm always kind of putting status on him or ranking him to where I think, but away from that, because that's where you're nitpicking and that's where you start saying, well, I don't think he's quite, or he's not to me number one. But here, just as a United fan, as a guy that knows, like through your sons and through the nephews and through the young generation, how much having Cristiano back at United, it has inspired the next generation. It puts a spotlight back at Old Trafford to a different level. Like when Ronaldo decided to go to Juventus then, not just the shirt sales, the attention on Juventus, the attention on Serie A that it brings, because everyone's tuning in, seeing what he's going to do. I mean, obviously the stint at Real Madrid, magnificent or magnifico. The stint at Juventus, when he moved to Juventus, my point was, unless you win a European Cup, going to Juventus where they've already won 7 straight Serie A titles, it's going to be hard to be impressed by anything you do there. Now, if you go to an Inter or you go to a Napoli or you go to Roma, Milan, and then you win the title, you break the cycle, well then all of a sudden, that's a really exciting prospect of achievement. So in terms of like looking at what would be a great achievement, now he did do excellent. I remember the time where he scored 14 consecutive games. He had great spells there. Coming back to United, first season, probably the best player in the year, and had big moments throughout. But yeah, I mean, coming away from like where I actually rank him, I believed when Ronaldo came back he'd give us goals, he'd be a big player. Okay, he didn't score the 37 goals that I thought he might get the first season, but I still felt like there was a lot to offer this campaign, given the fact that Rashford and Martial are not really dependable and reliable to go on a consistent run and be that number 9 all the way through the season. There's a big part Cristiano can play, in my opinion, and with the team that we've got. And it was all, for me, Ten Hag was always extending his hand and finding a way to make him included into this.
Yeah, definitely fit him into the
system. And I'm just disappointed that in order, from what I can see, to manufacture his exit, he's just burnt all the bridges and there's almost no way back, and it just kind of sullies it a little bit. And I'm just really, really disappointed that he kind of goes out like that, attacks the team. But when
the thing is he doesn't have time on his side, so he's had to resort to desperate measures. Having an interview with Piers Morgan is nothing short of Harry and Meghan having an interview with Oprah Winfrey. You're doing it for the sensationalism of it all. You're doing it because it's desperate measures. What Ronaldo's been able to do by doing that interview is just get global spotlight on him, and you're in a World Cup, arguably the biggest global tournament,
isn't it?
Exactly. He's being very clever with it, and like it or not, from his interview, basically what he's saying is in the season, he scored 24 goals, one more than Harry Kane in the Premier League, and who's arguably one of the best strikers in the world. So therefore, Ronaldo is still one of the best strikers in the world, and he would be if he felt happier this season at United. That's pretty much the vibe that he's giving. Let's say, for example, he's in a job interview in that interview with Piers Morgan to a degree, saying this is where I'm at now. When you look at him and you look how physically fit he is, and the fact that he did score all them goals last season, you think, and he has scored over 700 goals, you're thinking to yourself, he has a good World Cup. He is still a viable option for a Champions League team, and it's not. It's with Ronaldo. It's more than just goals. He's gonna make your club so much more famous, so much more revenue coming in the business. You know, he's an absolute entity, and that's why he can command the 500 million or whatever is a week. If he didn't have all these backers and it was just purely on football, he ain't getting 500 million. You know, Mbappe to a degree, you know, he's getting paid ridiculous amounts of money at PSG, but he's unbelievable, isn't he, to watch? He's that real exciting, you know, he's the marquee man of the, you know, of the team. You know, Ronaldo's going to be the marquee man of his team, but it's always going to be more than just the football. It's going to be him as an icon.
I think in the last episode, I was saying I empathise with Cristiano in terms of, you know, the way Juventus was chopping and changing with the managers, Sarri, Pirlo, Max Allegri, United losing Solskjaer, the Ragnick, and then Ten Hag. So he sees them changing directions again. He's getting on. But the season where he performed well, we were a disaster. And then it looks like we've completely going to let the transfer window pass until we made the late signings. It looked like we weren't going to partake in another season. So I empathise with the way everything started off for him. But then you've got to react to the situation, because once United start turning the corner and look like they've got a team, once you start seeing the way the defenders are playing, the structure is, and everything around, surely you've got to be thinking, hang on, you know, like the positives. Well, what can I do here? Now it's time to adapt. And well, what he's done is he's gone and said, no, do you know what? He's not valuing me enough. I need to be considered. I want to play every week. You know, he's trying to pull the Michael Jordan card out. I'm the greatest. I'm playing every week. And if I'm not,
should he be able to say I'm playing every week? You know, if the argument is his fitness and he's fit as a fiddle.
Well, I mean, again, I don't.
Or would you rather have a Marcus Rashford or Anthony Martial?
Well, when we look at that, I mean, first of all, I totally back Ten Hag and what he's trying to do. But when we look at that, I think about Pep Guardiola at Barcelona. So Zlatan couldn't fit in there. He wanted to get rid of Eto'o. He got rid of Yaya Toure. And I remember Zlatan was talking about he wanted to have 15 Skodas in the car park instead of having a Ferrari and knowing how to use them. He wanted everybody to be on the same page. And I just thought a key part of managing is using different personalities and profiles, getting the best out of them and keeping everyone on board. You shouldn't just have to cut people. So I wasn't down with the way Eto'o gets exiled after he just scored the winner. He just scored the winner.
He's let Ronaldinho go, who's arguably at his absolute peak. He's let him go, and he's just brought Messi in, and Messi's just gone to the next level. Yeah. He really has. I think Pep has had some great teams, but I think you have to give Pep credit where credit's due. For him to beat United the way they beat United in Rome, kind of for me just showed me that he has got all these great players at his disposal, but he's also got a system that works.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about should a player fit in, on one hand he should, on the other hand it's like that player has to he has to get on board like Aguero with the system. You have to get on board with the system. You have to say, I'm going to be there for the team, for the new manager, and you have to adapt. You can't just use a reputation. Ronaldo
is Ronaldo a team player?
Well, listen, if he's got the issues, which I think we must believe his issues with his son or his other daughter.
Listen, at the end of the day,
hold on.
As far as his family's concerned, right? I'm blowing the Graham Souness trumpet here. You can have as much time off as you want. There you go.
Listen, that's fine. So what I'm saying is though, that's happened. That's a part of it. Okay, so he is a bit behind on fitness. It's all about what he's doing on the pitch. Does he earn minutes? For me, you're performing well, you're scoring goals, you're looking a threat, you deserve minutes, even if they need being managed. Even if he is getting lower minutes than he expected in the lead up to the World Cup, surely that's a good thing, because it means he's going to be fresh, ready to go for the World Cup, and then ready to go for the back end of the season. The fact that the way he's managed himself, I don't like the way he's managed himself, the way he's conducted himself. And I'm really disappointed.
Did Ten Hag disrespect him by asking him to come on for a few minutes against Spurs at the end? Considering what he said about the City game.
No, I think it's different, because the City game, you're getting battered and there's no way back. The Spurs game, you're at home, you're winning. You're coming on there as a guy who I trust, and we're trying to make changes and we're trying to get the game over the line. Yeah, it's just a couple of minutes, but in them couple of minutes where you can lose a game, I'm going to go to this guy, because this guy is not going to cost it me.
It's a couple of minutes for him to score a goal.
Well, it is low, but listen, I've been brought on literally for 10, 20 seconds, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. But that's when the game's level, and it's like, well, what do you want me to do in a minute? And I get that. Hold on a second. For everything I've achieved, why don't I get 10, 15 minutes? But hold on, there's lots of games around the corner. Okay, the City thing happened.
Was he not just trying to include him, Ten Hag? Just keep him in the momentum of the team.
The walking down the tunnel, it's not like it was the first time it happened. He did it in pre-season. He got protected by the manager by saying he weren't the only person. For him to go off and react the way he did was overall unacceptable. But I mean, look, moving away from Cristiano, who now seems to have gone, he's disappointed us both. That there's no doubt about. I am going to go back.
He's not gone till he's gone, though, is he?
I know. I am going to go back to the measuring stick that I do. I don't think Ronaldo. I thought if he'd come and he did something big, I thought he could surpass Cantona in my mind as the greatest seven we've had in recent times. But the way it's ended for me ends that conversation of him versus Cantona. Now, I do think overall the guys had the best career of any United player, but at United, I look at that sweet moment of the Champions League success with his Ballon d'Or, where again he missed the penalty away to Barcelona. Scholes scores the winner in the next game at home. In the final, he scored a great goal, the header, but he missed his penalty in the shootout and the team picked him up. It was such one of the best seasons I've ever seen, individual seasons, 42 goals, but he had help from the team as he helped the team to get to that level. But all the main elements of Real Madrid, Ronaldo, we've seen in his career, and the best things have happened at Real Madrid, in that next spell. Whereas Cantona, we got the full peak of Cantona in his 5 years.
For me, though, my favourite seven to ever have played for Manchester United is David Beckham.
Okay.
And the reason why I'll say that is, and I'm not comparing him in terms of skills with Ronaldo or Cantona, I heard Beckham say this, and I heard him say it live. And after he said this, it just changed my opinion about David Beckham and number 7. I've always loved Becks anyway, but this. And he just said that when he left United, he couldn't watch him for 3 seasons.
That's beautiful.
He couldn't watch him for 3 seasons. He was that upset. Now that, to me, is the number 7 you want in your team. And I thought he used to run himself into the ground every game. He was awesome backs.
He was awesome, and he was the perfect guy to have on the right hand side.
He loved United for all the right reasons.
What I loved about that team, apart from the fact you've got Stam, you've got the defence, the keeper, the midfield was so balanced. Roy Keane was arguably the best player in the glue. You know what I mean? The gluing everything
Brilliant.
together. And then you've got 4 strikers, Cole York, Sheringham, Solskjaer, just having that much firepower rotating. It just seemed like everybody was contributing to what was going on there. Whereas Cantona, for me, was that standout number 10, taking us forward, even though he was a number 7. You know what I mean? It was that kind of.
He had that panache. He helped the club evolve in so many different ways with the training.
It was there was all that, but then it was
character.
it was the difference maker in the big games. I mean, I always think back to that season where he comes back from the Kung Fu kick. He got suspended, so we lost the league, and it was just the way we kept winning 1-0, and it was the Newcastle game, the volley against Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know, like we were getting absolutely mullered. And he pops up at the back post, and as soon as you saw where the ball was going to with our one chance in the first half, you just thought, please be Cantona. And it got to Cantona, and you thought, how's he going to do it? And the volley, the whole technique. I know it's close range, but you could trust him. When the ball fell to him against Liverpool, and you're thinking, oh, who's this going to fall to? You're hoping it falls to Cantona, aren't you? Because you don't expect Cantona to not do anything that's something incredible.
I remember Cantona in the cup against Wimbledon, and Vinnie Jones going out to try and break his legs, and he didn't even react. I mean, he got absolutely
was that
murdered.
The one where he control volleyed it and scored that goal?
Yeah.
No.
But United, they didn't even react. And I watched them, and I watched the temperament, and I just thought, you could just see by watching that game, you've got a team full of winners, and you've got somebody like Cantona, the pioneer of it all, not reacting to them kind of tackles, just epitomising what United stands for.
So another kind of comparison I want to make, and why I put Cantona ahead of Ronaldo as a United great, is because I look at Ronaldo, the phenomenon. Shout out to an incredible documentary, by the way. Love seeing Il Phenomenio back again, making me want to put LL Cool J on in the vehicle. But yeah, his performance, his display at Barcelona, the goal where he gets it from the halfway, his having his shirt pulled, the footwork, but the whole season and what he achieved there in his first season. I think it was a League Cup, maybe a Super Cup. Excellent. But if you compare him to, say, Samuel Eto'o, who's scored the winning or scored a crucial goal against Barcelona and a crucial goal against against Arsenal and against United in 2 European Cup finals, the goal in Rome where he chops Vidic and goes onto his left foot, that broke the game open. Since that goal, United barely got a kick of a ball, and they were just out of the game after that goal. It was a massive goal against Arsenal. Of course, Thierry Henry's bid to lead Arsenal to European glory. Another big goal, stepping up, and so scoring these 2 big goals. I mean, he won at Inter as well, didn't he? Won the treble when they sold him off for Zlatan. But I just think his stature amongst Barcelona should be higher than, or his greatness at Barcelona should be higher than Ronaldo, the phenomenon. Even if you want to say that Ronaldo was a better player, Ronaldo in his one season looked as great as anything Eto'o did through his seasons, you just have to give it to Eto'o because of what he's achieved and what he's been in his period at Barcelona compared to what Ronaldo was, who did more at Real Madrid and certainly more on the national team, and arguably equivalent to what he did at Barca at PSV when he was sensational there as well as a child. So that's kind of why I've got Cantona above Ronaldo. But I did thoroughly enjoy Cristiano's first stint. And last season, he brought me great moments. Even this season, I liked him putting in Garnacho, the Everton goal. I was still suing it.
When I think of it, when I think of the best of Ronaldo, I kind of see them last few years at Man United where he kind of transitioned more into a forward, and then his entire career at Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid have had the very best of Ronaldo because his goal in games ratio speaks for itself. I mean, to get more than a goal a game. And listen, I've got nothing but admiration for the guy. he is probably one of the greatest players to ever play football, and we had the pleasure of seeing him at United. But
looking at
ultimately, I think his time's done now.
Yeah, I mean, look at Ronaldo Barca. He won the Cup Winners' Cup in 96-97, the Copa del Rey, and the Super Cup at España. You know, he's had some trophies, the lower trophies. Even the Cup Winners' Cup, though, good to win. But it doesn't compare to what Eto'o's done. 2 goal-scoring performances in finals for Barcelona. So on that metric, that's kind of where I'd have them two. But
I think the Eto'o Brazilian Ronaldo one, I think that's subjective because
even at Barca, I'm just talking about the Barca time.
Because he scored important goals, but what Ronaldo would give you for 90 minutes, the Brazilian Ronaldo when he was fit. I mean, I kind of saw clips of him when he was at Barcelona in the odd game here and there, and he did look great. But when I saw him at Inter Milan, and then in Brazil, I just thought, wow, this guy, he's so explosive.
37 games, 34 goals in the league. In all competitions, listen to this, 49 games, 47 goals in that season for Barcelona. It's just an electric season, absolutely. But do you put that above what Sammy Eto'o's done? This is just what I'm asking the question.
Okay, ask it.
Do you put him ahead of what Sammy Eto'o's done for Barcelona? Apart from, like, say, scoring them 2 winning goals in European Cup finals, which I just think, I mean, it's Solskjaer on steroids, isn't it? But here he is. It's his statistics are pretty crazy. I'll see. I'm going to go through just some of the league ones. 37 games, 25 goals. 34 games, 26 goals, 19-11, 18-16, 36-30. Now, in all competitions, we're looking at 45 games, 29 goals, 47 games, 34, 27-13, 28-18, 52-36. But honours-wise, because we've seen the Copa del Rey, the Cup Winners' Cup, and the Charity Shield that he won, but he's won 3 La Liga titles, a Copa del Rey, Super Copa de España, and 2 Champions Leagues, which of course he scored goals in the finals. So who would you say was the greatest Barcelona player, Eto'o or Ronaldo, off what they've achieved and what they've done?
But again, if you're going to start talking about records and what they've achieved in trophies, when you talk about the greatest player of all time, that's where the Messi and Ronaldo comes from. You know, but I think if you're going to compare players from different eras, it depends on what you compare. If you're comparing them on stats alone, based on what you've just said, you're going to say Eto'o. But if you're going to say to me which player, I'm going to say Brazilian Ronaldo. Brazilian Ronaldo at Barcelona, 34 and 37. Let me tell you, if he would have stayed there for 10 years, how many goals do you think he would have scored?
So you thought he was greater at Barcelona? Because there was an element of greatness when you're just scoring a goal a game, isn't there?
I think Ronaldo,
and leading them to
Brazilian Ronaldo at Barcelona and Inter Milan in particular, they were the 2 clubs, even Real Madrid. I mean, I remember the hat-trick he scored at Old Trafford, and Rio was marking him tightly. Yeah, I thought Rio was defending him well, but
that's
this is a guy who's at the very top of his tree.
Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo? Because I mean, I got interested where Gary Neville was saying he's arguably Manchester United's most talented player or best player. Don't know exactly the words that he used for that. And I just thought, even when I saw Roy Keane not put Cantona in his United all-time 11, even though he speaks about him fondly, I just don't know. Like, if you're serious about football, and who do you think's been better for United, Cantona or Cristiano?
I think when you look at United and you look at the relationship that the fans have with players, I think arguably Cantona's up there. I think George Best is up there. I think Bobby Charlton's up there. These guys, Dennis Law, your Holy Trinity, they are the pinnacle, really, for me at Man United. And don't get me wrong, Ronaldo, that season he had where he scored 40-odd goals, but George Best had one of them seasons.
Yeah, but
so if you're going to compare
between Cantona and Ronaldo, who do you think did more for United? Who was the better player for Manchester United? That's what I'm just wondering in your viewpoint. Who do you think was better for United, Cantona or Ronaldo? And I know that obviously we saw Ronaldo much.
I think both players had good teams around them, but simply for the fact that Ronaldo was surrounded more with the youth, I'd probably say Cantona in terms of what he did, because he you've gone from a club that doesn't win to all of a sudden winning. I think Ronaldo, when he joined United, he joined a team that was going, was doing good things. He was just he was like one of the pieces that was just going to add to our armory going forward. And let's be fair, we knew he was exciting, we knew he was good, but we didn't. And it's credit to him that he has become the player that he has. And I think he's been great for United, and there'll always be fond memories. But right now, for me, it's difficult to talk about him with that 100% passion and enthusiasm, because ultimately I'm disappointed that we're not talking about how great Garnacho is.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, what Ronaldo's doing and where his next move's going to be.
Yeah,
it's always about Ronaldo.
The statistic that appeared recently, which was interesting, that showed that in the first 100 appearances for Manchester United, that the most goal and assist came from Cantona with 84 goal contributions in 100 appearances. 6 more than Ruud van Nistelrooy on 78, and we know how prolific he was. 66 for Dwight York and 63 for Wayne Rooney. I mean, when they...
Where's Bruno on that list?
But I think it's just behind Wayne Rooney. But I think we need to get that statistics needs to be rammed down the throat of Gary Neville and Roy Keane the next time that they start doing, if you're going to, if you were talking about impact and big moments, and then the way a lot of people are trying to throw this out there. Oh, Ronaldo just did an interview. Cantona did a kung fu kick. Which one's worse? And it's just like, Cantona never tried to humiliate or degrade Manchester United. He was caught in the moment. He was heated up, and then he paid them back after that moment, didn't he?
Yeah.
You can be upset with a guy who wanted to have a different career and didn't want to give another 5-10 years to football. But what was clear, apart from beach football, is that Cantona wasn't kicking a ball in another shirt other than United.
Because, I love that.
Because Cantona really signed... Cantona, even though he played for Leeds and he played for Marseille, he signed out, like Totti signed out for Roma. This is my club. This is my team. I belong to Manchester. And he already rubbished off France and stuff, So, yeah, I mean, interesting to see, obviously, that you'd have Cantona above Ronaldo, because I know you were thinking, I think when he was coming back, Cristiano could surpass potentially Cantona as our greatest 7.
When all the dust has died down from the interview and the season's gone on, and hopefully we'll have a good second half of the season, my thoughts might be slightly different. But right now, where I'm at as a football fan, as a Manchester United football fan, there's something special about Cantona. You don't call him the king for nothing. And I just think that he'll always have that. I mean, for him to come in, do what he did, and then just go out at the very top. I mean, it's that. That should have been what happened with Elvis.
It's a movie, isn't it?
It is a movie.
I'm seeing all these great documentaries, but where's
Cantona?
I want a proper one. Do you know what? There has been a couple, but nothing that's got. I want the full Netflix. I want.
I do. Can we have Cantona?
I want a 7-piece thriller, or Amazon Prime ain't messing about when they're doing little documentaries.
Agreed.
But one of the big things about the Cristiano Ronaldo situation is it's totally overshadowed Alejandro Garnacho. And you know that away from the mic, how much of a fan I was. I mean, when I was looking at the Antony signing, and I know that the club don't want to part with X, Y, and Z money. Again, I get that Ten Hag wants to get players in with his philosophy, and Antony was one of his better players. So it's good for him to have him there. Yeah. Ten
Hag probably didn't know as much about Garnacho as he has, since pre-season when he's had a chance to work with him. And maybe his way of thinking would be, let's bring as many decent players in now that understand my way of playing. Because he knows ultimately that if he doesn't get results, he wouldn't have had the time that he's had.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. But I'm saying, looking at the squad from my perspective, I felt like Garnacho deserved an opportunity coming into this season, given what he'd done in the Youth Cup, how he did it, and then the expectations. By the time he's been excellent in all the other games, you went to the final, didn't you?
Yeah.
You said he was a bit underwhelming, but came out with 2 big goals.
Won
the penalty.
Yeah,
scored
unbelievable.
The penalty, and the one where he chops the guy, gets the composure. I'll go with my weak foot, no problem, and he gets a deflection. So he lived up to the pressure moments as well. I felt like going into the season, he arrived at pre-season early, if I remember, so he had good intentions, but obviously been late a couple of times. He's been put under punishment where he's not got any preseason minutes.
These players need discipline. The whole team needs discipline. And one thing's for sure, when you're not firing on all cylinders and you're getting paid the kind of money these guys are getting paid, you have to put a shift in. But I think
Ten Hag's kept him on his toes, hasn't he, with the whole holding him back?
I think Ten Hag is all about the team. He's all about the rotation. It's all about getting everybody involved. And ultimately, he wants to bring players in that are going to hit the ground running. Now, I think Antony's been a good signing. I hope Sancho gets back to fitness and he starts playing again. I think up front with Martial, Rashford, there's real options there in the team. There's now depth in the midfield, which we never had. We've got Casemiro now, who I think is wonderful.
Let me tell you where I was heading, though. I mean, I'm looking at the squad, what players we have available. I know he needs to make changes, but because of my belief in Garnacho, I wanted Garnacho to get minutes in rotation this season, and he's gone for Antony. And clearly that money, in my opinion, would have been better served on a centre forward.
But listen, I'm not getting involved with the we shouldn't have signed Antony. We should have gone for a striker. Ten Hag's had to work with what he's worked with, and for me, I didn't expect us to have the transfer window. I didn't even expect Casemiro to be coming. I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody else was just linking another player with the club, and then all of a sudden he turned up, and I've still not really recovered from that, because we put an absolute world-class quality player that we needed, that CDM, in the team. And all of a sudden, what I'm seeing now when Casemiro plays for us is we look like a team with a proper spine all the way through it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's absolutely not criticism. We talked about all the signings in the last episode, and I was saying that I was delighted. You know what I mean? I was throwing out 9s the last time I checked in Malasia. Yeah, so I was absolutely delighted. I'm delighted in how it, by luck or whatever, I'm happy with how everything's going. No doubt about it. But what I'm saying is I was looking at the squad and I'm thinking about where our talent is, and I'm thought, with Garnacho, surely we should be pushing for a number 9. But and now,
if you're a new manager, he's not seeing Garnacho at United. He might have seen little snippets and stuff. Until you're actually there at the club, you're training day in, day out. He's taking him on pre-season with him, and then through discipline issues or whatever, he's had to keep him out. But at the end of the day, he's a young lad. How old is he? 18. He's still a young guy, and he's had to wait his turn. And you know what? He's taking his chance. And what we're seeing now with Garnacho is the type of thing we used to see with Ronaldo. He's a guy who'll just attack players because he's got the ultimate, he's got ultimate confidence. He can go left foot, right foot. And what he's done, he's added another option for United going up front.
Well, I mean, the pass was against Villa in the Cup, where he's changed the game. 2 passes, one to Bruno, one to McTominay. The pass over the top where he's just weighted it.
Yeah.
Beyond that defender, that was an exceptional pass. We've already talked about his ability to go with both feet. You've not really talked about it on air about how we feel about him. From my perspective, there's
I think he's one for the future.
When Cristiano arrived, there was a bit of indirectness with a lot of his tricks and his skills. Now, he's not like he didn't have any product. He kept the defenders on ice. He's a guy we could play the ball to. And then Ronaldo seemed to transform his game where it was one touch, give it, go. He already seems like he's ahead of where Ronaldo was in terms of what I've seen. When Ronaldo first joined, obviously Ronaldo had a lot of skill, a lot of flair, but Garnacho is end product in terms of, and the way he goes about his game, obviously Ronaldo took it up tenfold when he had a couple of mammoth seasons, but Garnacho already seems quite advanced with how he's trying to execute his game.
The reason why he looks more advanced in my opinion, if you compare them age-wise, is because he's more direct. He scores more goals. He's been scoring goals for the youth team.
He's a match winner, isn't he?
He's a match winner. He was the main man there, and you could see that if the club know what they're doing, which obviously they do when it comes to the academy, that he was going to come through eventually if they could keep him. Now, I think he's got about 18 months or something left on his contract, so it's going to be interesting to see whether they tie him down to a new deal and when they decide to do that, because a guy of Garnacho's ilk, you want to tie him down for 5 or 6 years and you're going to have to pay him some decent money. But, he's also fighting for places with Antony, Sancho, Martial, Rashford. These are guys that all play wide.
If you're picking one player right now for a game, who are you picking? Or let me put it like this, right? You've got no wingers on the pitch, right? You've just got your team. You've not got Sancho. You've not got Anthony. You've not got Garnacho on the pitch. Who else am I missing out? Which other wingers?
Alanga, yeah. Sorry.
You've not got any wingers on the pitch, and you want to bring a winger on. Who are you going to with 20 minutes to go?
I think impact from the bench. It has to be Garnacho. It has to be. If you saw the pace that he showed against Fulham, the way it's a difficult skill to get in, sort of in front of that defender that way.
Intentions.
But because he almost had a penalty, because he almost won a penalty just before that against the right back, he knew that if you put the burners on and got his body in that right position, that he's got a decision to make. Should he chance making another tackle when he potentially gave away a penalty? He could have got away with giving a penalty 5 minutes ago, or should he just stand off and see if he can get to the ball? The way Garnacho has taken that with his left foot, I mean, I was absolutely screaming. Great finish, great play, and I think he's got a great future. And it's disappointing, really, that the timing of Ronaldo's interview, United were on a real high.
It's interesting that out of Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho's the guy you got. He's the guy I'd go to. And it's not the guy I'd go to. I'm not that. I'm saying I'd be playing him ahead of.
I go for players on form.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? If you're looking at it, the prospect of Anthony and Garnacho is mouth-watering.
I still like Sancho wide. I still like Alanga. I like our wide players, but I just think that if you're in 3-4 competitions, you're going to need all these guys. And it's all about managing them, because they're all going to get injured now. The physical demand for these players, you can't go for a season with 11 players.
Who does he remind you of?
Garnacho. It's a difficult one, really, because he just, he is out wide, but he does score goals.
He does. There is bits of Cristiano, young Cristiano, but not like when he first arrived. There's bits of that I see, the way he's sprinting, confidence, but also some of the style of his play, for me, goes towards Kaka. The way he used to run with the ball, the way he'd use both feet, the directness in his game. Obviously, he played more as a 10. He found himself more inside, but Garnacho looks like he's happy to stay out on that wing, and what an exciting prospect.
The thing is with Garnacho, right now he just needs to get his head down. He just needs to get his head down.
To keep it going. He's not in the World Cup squad.
Keep working hard. Maybe that'll do him good, because he can get really fit and just keep this momentum up that he's built, because everything that I've seen from him so far, I've absolutely loved.
The thing is, as well, is that he's had a couple of little teething issues this last year or so with his transition into the first team. But for me, Mason Greenwood's got to be the perfect example of how it can all get taken away if you don't have the ultimate professionalism, if you don't conduct yourself in a manner where you're going to be in the spotlight, in a global spotlight. So understand what can happen. And, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo on your right. Mason Greenwood was on the left. You've got to understand that your career's in your control, but it's nothing's given. Ravel Morrison, super talented. Pogba has achieved quite a lot, won the World Cup, but his career's not really. I'm sure he would have liked it to have gone a little bit better for the talent he's got in his locker. And it's going to be interesting to see how he makes them leaps up with his what his management team are like as well. Because hopefully they're not going to be pointing him to the Son and Piers Morgan interviews, because it's not going to be for the benefit of your career. I would argue. Might give you some more interim marketing. Let's have a quick nibble at the World Cup. I've made a point of wearing my United top today, because I'm absolutely not in World Cup mode at all. But the chess picture with Ronaldo, Messi, they could meet each other in the final. If you see the way Portugal's side is, if they get it together, Bernardo, some of the talent they've got, João Felix, Bruno, Dalot season he's having.
Leao,
arguably the best Serie A player. Cancelo. I mean,
Diaz.
The talent level is, Dalot. So I have to see exactly. Even Patricio, in goal. How they're going to go on that. But it could be a Messi versus Ronaldo.
I'm tipping
Portugal.
I'm tipping Argentina.
Is that you think?
That's my
just before we go there, I mean, I did want to make another comment that all this obsession with goals. I don't think, I've said it before, I don't think Messi is the best player of all time, but he's in the conversation. And I think if you're in the conversation, then you're in the conversation. There's nothing to malign, but I just look at what Maradona was doing. I really do. And Messi, this year, he's got it all for him. We've got a great team. They're on a massive undefeated streak. He's shining everywhere. The team's complimenting around him. He needs to add a knockout goal at the very least. But I expect him to probably win the World Cup. I tip him to win the World Cup and to be a star. And he really has that to achieve to. But even if he does, I don't think it's going to put him, for me, ahead of Maradona from what Maradona was doing with the parts he had around him. And then I look at Ronaldo, and I look at the Brazilian Ronaldo. I look at the little Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. And I actually think that Ronaldo is probably the third best Ronaldo. So, we're talking about the greatest of all times. I think the way that we see football, Ronaldo and Messi have been two of the best players over the last couple of decades. Absolutely. I'm fine with that. I've got no complaints. When you talk about all time, we've got to think that the European Cup, the Champions League, where they've had their success, where the Ballon d'Ors have come from, and where they've got that stability around that success, a lot of that's come with, we allow the top 4 teams into the European Cup. So they've had unfettered, unlimited access into that, where they've been able to stockpile their statistics that other greats like Marco van Basten, Baggio, Maradona, these guys have not, Cruyff, they've not been able to do that because you'd had to win your own league to get into the European Cup. So, in terms of how you build your statistics, the biggest stages are definitely the World Cup. Look at Usain Bolt. No one cared what he did in a World Championship. It was all about the Olympics. Are you going to deliver? And he always delivered. That's why he's the man. That's why he gets the Bolt from Blue. He's the main guy, and you have to deliver on a World Cup. Messi hasn't done it for me. We got to a final. He was player of the tournament. I thought Mascherano was better than him. Yeah, that's what I thought. And he lost it. So I'm taking free. If you score 3 goals a game all season, and you go for 97 goals in a calendar year, I think it's reasonable to expect to score 1 or 2 goals in the knockouts. Otherwise, your performance levels drops, and I've got to look around and say, well, was it your other parts around you? And at this moment, I can just say that when the spotlight was on this guy, always delivered. Whether he won a World Cup or not, always delivered. And so, yeah, I'm not putting Ronaldo or Messi as either of the GOATs. That's not how it works in my mind, but they've both been incredible, and I see Messi getting the edge over Ronaldo of 2 of, no doubt, the greatest player of the last couple of decades. They've been fantastic. It's just how I see it. If you want to see Ronaldo as your GOAT, fair enough. If you want to see Messi as your GOAT, again, fair enough. But he's not my GOAT. My GOAT's got a ponytail. Yeah? But probably got a ponytail. It's not even just about success. It's about when he was a kid, when he was at his peak, and when he was beyond it. He could not play for a year and a half. He'd come out there and he'd always deliver. It didn't matter what pressure, what the stakes were at. He couldn't walk for half his career and he's still delivering things. But as I said, with the Ronaldos and Maradona, I mean, they're all in the conversation, so they should all be respected. But I do think this could be the one between Ronaldo and Messi.
It's a difficult one because as time evolves, and obviously now people have got more access to information than ever before. And with Messi and Ronaldo, like you say, the way the statistics are chosen, it's normally if you win the Champions League, or if you win the League, Champions League, or if you do something at international level, if there's a tournament on that year, you tend to go up the pecking order for these awards that these guys have collected. But I think that if you were to go round the world now with a survey, the chances are it's going to be Messi and Ronaldo up there because they're the ones with the stats. And when we're having debates or conversations, you love throwing stats at me, but I because somebody doesn't score 40 goals a season, someone might score 30 goals a season. It doesn't mean that player is better than that player in it. And then you have to start saying, well, what are you suggesting is better from that player than that? We're looking at attributes, we're looking at skills. There's so many different ways you can break it down, but ultimately, you've got to say to yourself when you talk, for me, when you talk about the greatest player, obviously you've got to put in it's natural that you're going to talk about the trophies and the things that they've won, but it's the moments that they've given you as a footballer. And I just think these guys, I think Ronaldo has given you moments. I think Messi is definitely...
He's very clutch, isn't he, Ronaldo?
I think Messi...
It's good for a big game.
I mean, I watch Messi now. Apparently people are saying, oh, now he's too old. He scored a goal a couple of weeks back in the Champions League against for PSG, and I just thought that is absolutely unbelievable. Messi has always been incredible.
What do you expect out of Ronaldo this World Cup? I think Ronaldo, he's one of these people, when his back's against the wall, when he has any kind of... He usually bounces back.
I think he'll score... Listen.
Dropped against City, bounced back with a hat-trick against Tottenham last year. The clutch moments for Portugal, the amount of 90th minute winners he's got
he's gonna,
in his portfolio.
There's no doubt about it.
He's going to bounce back, isn't he? I would imagine.
At 37 years old, he's got an opportunity now to have a decent World Cup in a team that should score goals.
Yeah.
Right. So he's at the forefront of that. You've got guys like Bruno Fernandes in there, Diego Dalot, guys that he plays with at club level as well. Cancelo, Bernardo Silva. You'd like to think there's lots of chances going to be created in that Portugal, and they're going to control a lot of the possession as well. And if they do, Ronaldo is going to score some goals. Fantastic, and good luck to him. But ultimately, a Messi in an Argentina team, he's a different cog in that component, because Messi is not only still scoring goals, but he's making goals, and him for me has got the ultimate game intelligence. We've seen Ronaldo at United this season, that even when there's millions of chances going around, if he's not quite on the money, he's not that player. Whereas Messi, you give him one of them chances, it's very, very rare that he squanders. When do you see Messi miss a 5-yard tap-in? You just don't, because of his technical brilliance. I've seen Ronaldo miss 5-yard tap-ins.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing. And not only have you got these two teams, and it would be fitting if either one of them won it, but I still think Brazil are going to be up there. I think they've got a fantastic team. I think France are always going to be a threat, and I think Spain.
France have just lost Benzema. There's no Pogba, there's no Kante.
No, I know they've lost a lot of players, but for me, while they've got Mbappe, and I think he is that kind of special player, well, you've got a guy of that ilk.
Is Mbappe the best player in the world right now?
It's a tough one.
Just in your eyes, I'm not trying to say okay, let's look at them.
If you were going to say to me, right, I think a better question would be, who do I think the most valuable player in the world is right now? Ask me that question.
Who's the most valuable player in the world right
Haaland at City. I think this guy is something else. He's a superhero playing amongst men. Right, and it pains me to say it, but that performance that he put on against United was nothing short of disgusting. What a player. He's got everything. And I think that this season, obviously he's not in the World Cup. So I think it's just going to help him.
Is a better player than Mbappe?
I just think
Haaland, different players, aren't they?
I think Haaland for a team, I would, if you're going to ask me who I'd rather play with, who I'd rather have on my team, I'd probably say Mbappe, just for the tricks and the skills and the sheer wow factor. But if I want to win a title right now, I want to be going in there with Haaland. And I'm not saying that just because Joey packed him in our FIFA team today, and I've been using him scoring goals for fun, all kinds of ridiculous goals. The guy scores from anywhere. But when I've seen him this season for City, and I do football fantasy as well, he's pretty much always my captain. I'm just you guarantee goals with the guy.
Well, it's having a guy who's comfortable in the centre, who is, like, say, a man amongst boys, is a giant in there, as a centrepiece.
I like him. He's good with the kids in the academy, and do you know what? He seems like a really level-headed, down-to-earth lad. But I also think that he is out to break records as well, and he could potentially be the first £1 billion player.
Yeah, listen, he looks special. He is special, but Kylian Mbappe already is a world champion. Not just, I was there for the ride. Maybe Thierry Henry 98. He obviously looked good, and he was decent, but he weren't like match winner. Kylian Mbappe was match winner. But alongside Griezmann, who had some penalties and some big corners, But Mbappe was
he was the star man, wasn't he?
He was the absolute star, and he was not just the star. He was the guy they gave the ball to and put the hopes behind. Because Griezmann was giving you nothing. Giroud didn't have one shot on target in the last World Cup, and Kylian Mbappe was out there running past the whole Argentina defense from he running the pitch, weren't it?
Yeah.
It was a bit George Weah. What's this kid doing? So for me, he's already a world champion at Monaco. He's helped them win Liga after PSG.
Is he the best player in the world for you, Mbappe?
I think he is. I think he is now. The attackers, the goal scorers.
What about Nene? Has he got anything? Is he not in the conversation?
Well, the problem with Neymar that I've seen is that Neymar every season, apart from having his sister's birthday off. He does though. He does. I love that. He turned up with John Barnes tights on. You know when John Barnes used to. John Barnes used to wear tights, to keep his hamstrings warm, and so did Giggs. Obviously, I know now with now with the Nike Pros, all of them have these pants on. But he turned up right with these tights on for PSG against Real Madrid last year. He looked unfit. You know what I mean? I felt like I could have beat him in a race. He looked, you know what I mean? I was like, come on, man. He's getting burned by Modric. For I think it was the second goal. So when Neymar is on it, I remember when he was asking to go back to Barca to play. Sorry. I remember when he asked to go back to Barca. Right, he wanted to go back to Barca. He said to the crowd, "That's what he wants to do." And the crowd, and he was getting booed.
Yeah, I remember that.
He was getting booed, and then the first game of the season, they're getting booed all the way through game. 91st minute, ball comes in.
Oh, the overhead kick.
Ball comes in, overhead kick from the edge of the box with his weak foot, and all you're gonna hear is Barnsley. I'm like, I don't care where that is. I don't care if it's in my back garden. When something special transpires, just take a moment to breathe it in. And Neymar, if you just officiate the game, like that's a foul, that's a foul, that's a foul, and you take away all the other antics, Neymar is probably the greatest footballer right now for me. I mean,
what about
the John Barnes tag. So I don't know.
What about the Lewandowski?
Lewandowski.
Yeah.
No,
Lewandowski?
When we're talking about strikers, yeah, I mean, Poland, I expect nothing from. I'll be honest with you. I watch Poland. I hope for Poland. I want Poland to do well. My partner's Polish. My daughter's half Polish. But when I look at Poland, I look at Lewandowski. He's a one-man band.
Give me your top three, fella. Come on.
What players?
Give me your top three teams now for the World Cup.
So
you've got $30, 10 on three teams. Are you putting your money on?
Argentina, Brazil, and Spain.
You throw Spain in there, would you?
Well, the thing is, when we play,
no Portugal.
No, what it is like?
Hold on. What about England?
Well, do you know what I mean?
Quarterfinals. I think
the thing is, there's always a pathway, isn't there? And it's never going to be as straightforward. The reason that I put Spain in there is because when Italy have been playing for the last couple of years, we're a really difficult team to play against because of our philosophies, our high press.
I know what you're going to say here. Spain control the game. They control the tempo and they bore you to death, don't they? The way they can just keep the ball.
They do, but and we've seen them a couple of times up close, but when you play against Italy, we're hard to play against or prepare for because no one plays like us. We've got the high press, we can sit in, the counter-attacking transition, what we're doing there. It's a philosophical approach to the game, and it can be really impactful even if you don't have the greatest individuals.
Mancini ball, isn't it? Mancini ball.
Now, they've got philosophy. Like again on steroids, are their philosophy to the T. If we have to use the keeper, if we have to lose own goals, whatever it might be, we are just going to keep the ball, rock you to sleep, and then at some point, you've had no ball, you're tired, and it's easier. You get more energy when you've got the ball than when you've not got the ball and you're chasing around and you're just staying in system. You want to do more things. So Pedri, Gavi, some of the Ferran Torres, they've got no forward. Yeah. Ferran Torres is perfect for their system compared to when you look at Diego Costa. Diego Costa, a much better striker, but in Spain's pattern of play, Ferran Torres has almost been.
So you're saying Brazil, Argentina, Spain. I agree with the Brazil and Argentina, but I think it could be. I think Spain are one of France.
Portugal. If France had all the big dogs, I'd be like, oh, if they had the midfield. I mean, Camavinga, is it too early for him?
France, Portugal, and can they
Benzema as well, Ballon d'Or. If Benzema was playing, how much extra license would you see from Kylian Mbappe? And Kylian Mbappe wants to bounce back because of the penalty.
Do you know who my dark horse is?
Who's that?
I'm going to go Denmark.
Well, they're no longer a dark horse because everyone's popping them in there, to be honest. That's what I'm seeing. A dark horse would be someone like Serbia and being unlocked by Vlahovic and Mitrovic.
Serbia are up there for me.
Here's the thing with England as well.
Tough team.
I think Southgate, when I look at it, I look at the last World Cup, I think he did a great job. If obviously I can point to it when people were saying, oh, England, it's coming home, all that stuff. My response to that was, no, it's not. Who have you played? But from Southgate's point of view, the decision to throw the game against Belgium and say, we're taking this easy course as opposed to going down that goal.
Yeah, no, I did that.
Well, it's the correct move. If I've got a team, that's the route I want to take to give myself a chance to win the World Cup. They just came up short.
Have you ever thrown a game though like that? That's a disgrace. Italy would never have thrown that game.
Listen.
No chance.
But tactically, what he did by saying we're going down this pathway gave him a chance, and there were a Harry Kane pass to Sterling away from getting to a World Cup final. Yeah. So listen, what I'm saying is that really that whole World Cup getting to the semi-finals is on Southgate. He made that call there. He turned the bus left and sent them to the final. The Euros, they had another favourable draw. Yeah. And then in the final, the big game, obviously they come through the Germany game at home, but the big game against Italy, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, we're going to dominate them with our midfield. We're too good for them. We're going to have too much control. I don't care about the players. But he played a system with wing backs that led him to get in the opener, and we really struggled to break down. In the end, it was just through the sheer brilliance of Verratti and some of the boys that clawed our way back there. A finish from Bonucci. It was about togetherness. It was our time. That's why we won.
As soon as we
Euros.
got that equaliser, we were always going to control.
And you know what?
Game.
He had a shortfall in that one because he decided to keep Rashford on the bench, etc. Didn't he? So, but what I'm saying is that he's a hair's breadth away from winning something. And then when you look at who they've got this tournament, there is a pathway. If he plays a lot of protection to cover the weaknesses of their defence and they play in transition, they've got attacking options where they can play in transition. Here's where so I do see a course where England can have a good World Cup.
Yeah.
First of all, is what I want to say, and the path that they potentially have. They're not going to be facing Argentina and Brazil, we don't suspect. They could
get
final.
France in the quarters, I think.
They could do, and if they do play France, they're playing a depleted, young, inexperienced team. Although it will cause them some headaches and it could knock them out. But I think England there, they have opportunities with a manager who will play a system which they're not trying to entertain. And they've got efficiency with a guy like Harry Kane, set pieces. You overload it, they could definitely do something there. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately with England, I'm looking at the weather. Like even if they've got cooler systems in the stadium, you're still training, you're still out there in conditions that are not suitable for people from England. They're just not suitable. It changes the dynamic of the game, and this is why football in Spain and Italy for many years has been different to football in England, because in England it's cold and you get on the pitch, you want to warm yourself up, you want to get stuck in just by default. In Italy and in Spain, you don't want to waste all that energy with the heat. You're using the ball, you're letting the ball do the work. So I think that's going to impact them. The conditions. The conditions are one of the things that I think will hold them back. Where it's going to come from, who's going to win the World Cup, is a team that have been close to winning something, and England fall under that bracket. They got to a semis, they got to a final. Brazil, they won the Olympics, they lost the Copa America final. Argentina, they've won a couple of things. France, they've done it, but I have the injuries crippled them. Are they really thinking they're going to go and win a World Cup with Rabiot in midfield? Yeah, I know Juve turned a little page, but come on, it's not happening. I'm going to have to get the Ed Lover come on son card out. They're not. France, for me, with that midfield, with Rabiot in midfield, if that's where Deschamps is going, I just don't see it. So maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe we'll see extra other talent.
Listen, I mean, I did watch the first game of it today, and there's a lot of there's a lot of things to be said with the Qatar World Cup, and there's a lot of politics involved with it. And ultimately, should it be there? Should it not be there? I don't really want to get into it, to be fair, because I don't think we've got another hour up our sleeves. But ultimately, it's a World Cup, and I think because of the entertainment factor, it's a World Cup, and you're going to have all these top players and top teams in, and it's in winter. You know, leading us up nicely into Christmas. I think it's going to be.
So are you saying your favourites were like Brazil, Argentina, France?
Argentina first, then Brazil, and then I think it's one of three.
Right.
And I'd put Portugal, France, and Spain in that three.
Right.
And then you've got teams like England, Germany, Serbia, Belgium that I would put in that. I mean, some people would argue and say, you know what, Belgium should be up there.
What about your best African team?
Well, I would have said Senegal, but with Mimani being out, I think that's throwing a spanner in the works.
In the wall for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Oh my word!
You don't want that.
I've had my Koulibaly pom-poms on for about 5 to 10 years. I had to lay him right down after I saw him in the wall. I thought, oh my gosh. I thought the criticism was overly harsh, like he's cost it for not jumping. But why are you going to have a man lying down below you and you're not going to jump up and just like almost like timid? That was how I am in the wall. You know what I mean? Or hand over the face jump. I don't even want to be in a wall, and that's what Koulibaly looked like. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. I liked what Hakimi was delivering from Morocco. You know, like the set pieces he's got. I think they're a little sneaky team. Morocco, I think out of the African, obviously you've got Anguissa. He's an exciting prospect at Napoli. You've got Thomas Partey. We can see what he can deliver. He needs to do a lot better than he did in the AFCONs.
Just before we wrap this up, I just want to talk about the ambassadors of Qatar. Beckham's getting a lot of criticism about being an ambassador. I think he's signed a 10-year deal or something, reportedly £150 million. Whether that's a year or whether that's over 10 years, I'm not sure. And then you've had other players, you've had ex-players like Pirlo. You know,
what are you thinking?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues with Qatar. That's what I think. And I think that football should be for everybody. And the fact that they don't believe that, it just sits uneasy with me, the fact that they can even bring a World Cup. And I think if you go to anybody's country, you have to respect them wherever you go within the world. But I also think that if you're hosting a World Cup, you're hosting the world. So you have to respect other people's cultures and religions and all the rest of it. And I just feel that Qatar and their moral compass doesn't quite fit with the global, you know, especially a sport. It's the most popular sport in the world. Football is for everybody. It should be for everybody, men, women, children, everybody. You know, whether you're straight, whether you homosexual, the sport is for everybody. And I just feel that
I feel that Johnny Infant, he keeps his massive outbursts about he can empathise that I am gay, I am African, I am Arab. Why? Because he had ginger hair and he got bullied. I mean, what am I seeing here from Johnny Infant? The best thing that, you know, when I saw a bald-headed Italian guy taking over, okay, Pierluigi Collina, he might not be, but you've got a guy, an authoritative figure who's taking over from Platini. You're thinking, well, this can't be bad for FIFA, but this guy's disgusting. I want everyone to be quiet. Let's have the World Cup and we can talk about things afterwards. I know his pocket's getting lined with absolute billions of pounds. And Johnny Infant.
What we can't do is start making allegations.
No, but the way he's conducted himself and his speeches.
We're not happy with the way he's conducted himself. Let's just leave it at that.
Do we not think he's getting massive amounts of money? And
well, what we can do is we can assume that because of what's happened with other people who've been at the helm of, say, FIFA and UEFA, they tend to go unchallenged, don't they? And they tend to have so much authority around the world. You know, we saw it when the World Cup went to Russia.
The thing is, though, both of the World Cups, that got done in the same...
Even South Africa,
it got done in the same balloting. It got done in the same ballot, didn't it? They did them both back-to-back. And I thought Russia, at the time, Russia, you know, they've got football leagues, they've got an infrastructure, they can host the tournament. But when I heard Qatar announced, against England, who David Beckham was the ambassador of England's campaign. And, well, Euro 96, you've got all these stadiums. You've got one of the most highest profile league. You've now got all families seated. You've got atmospheres that totally will welcome all facets and the people who created football to what we recognise it as of today.
Do you know who hosts the great tournament?
Italy.
No.
Italia 90.
Of course,
Germany,
Italy did.
Germany.
Yeah,
Germany.
Germany now tells the tournament.
Germany were brilliant.
Let me tell you something. Germany now tells the tournament.
Germany were, they were awesome. And, I saw a policeman in the final grab some guy and make him return the goods, and then he was just like, bigger picture, what am I arresting him for? On your pop. And do you know what? The first month we were driving around, or the first couple of weeks of the month that we were driving around Germany, you
could stop and speak to any policeman.
I was a little bit worried about police.
Brilliant.
Like, are they following me? And then after a bit, I started following the police.
Yeah.
I started following the police. We wanted to get, where's the town centre? Let's follow the police. They'll be where it's busy. And then and that led us into Germany were brilliant. I look at Qatar from the outset. We could already see that there's no way Qatar should be hosting a World Cup. There's no football there. There's no. I'm not saying that an Asian place or an Asian country shouldn't be hosting it. I think the World Cup should go to everywhere, but you have to have an infrastructure, and you have to show. I mean, the fact that people have said that maybe up to 6,000, 7,000 people have potentially died building the infrastructure of hotels and making this happen.
To be honest,
that can't be right.
To be honest,
it feels like the Hunger Games.
It doesn't even bear thinking about. And the fact of the matter is we're now.
England should have had the World Cup.
We're now.
No doubt about it.
We're talking about issues with Qatar in the World Cup. You look at the war that's going on right now while we're sat here enjoying being able to even speak about football. You're looking at the war right now in Ukraine and Russia. The economic state of the world at the moment.
Iran.
Everything that's going on in Iran, the fact that they're even allowed to play.
All the protesters that were captured, and they actually voted. They voted to execute them. Whether they go ahead with that legislation, that's unbelievable.
Coyle's Catch-Your Corner. It's all about football. We have, with the World Cup being in Qatar, you have to mention the human rights issues and some of the things surrounding it. But ultimately, we're football fans. That's what we're here for. That's what you guys are here for. And, we hope that we're going to see a good World Cup. The chances are we're going to be watching these games.
Yeah, I mean, from my own point of view.
But Ten Hag, we're with you.
We
are with you, Ten Hag.
I'm more than happy to talk and have good opinions about football, because if you start diving into politics and the way that corruption appears to have reached its almost epicenter in the last few years. When you think about vaccinations, and you think about the pandemic, the war, the profiteering from petrol companies, oil companies, all this kind of thing. It all brings it home with Qatar. When we go back to Qatar, when the World Cup got announced at Qatar, going against England, now no one who's ever met me has ever seen me with England pom-poms on. But there's no way, right? There's no way on this earth that Qatar should be getting a World Cup ahead of England. You have the infrastructure, the home of football, not had a World Cup since 1966, and you've got David Beckham. You know what I mean? What else? Unless there's money involved, unless there's bungs going on, there's no way you can do that.
Things of corruption.
Because the first thing you need to do when you're requesting to host the World Cup is show that you have the infrastructure. But they have shown that they've got the money to create the infrastructure. There just might be a few 100,000 lives that pay for it.
Let's see what the tournament brings, and I'm sure
it's going to be one for the stars. But I was a little bit worried in the opening game when I saw the goal get disallowed against Qatar. I thought, oh, wait a minute here. Hello. With VAR, we saw it. Italy versus France. We saw it, and maybe they didn't see it on VAR. Someone saw it and said, listen, he needs to go. He's got to get sent off. We can't have Zidane headbutting Materazzi, right, in a World Cup final. And maybe that's where it all came about. But we want that because we saw Korea. You want fair decisions. You do not want to see, with all due respect, Maradona handballing the ball against someone, or England scoring a goal against Germany and it getting chalked off when the ball's crossed the line. You need it, but are you going to see VAR cheating teams? And we're seeing how you can manipulate VAR to help influence results, and we don't need to see that tackle going on. And they need to have as much integrity as possible when they're making these decisions. And I was a bit worried about it, but I would imagine Ronaldo has got everything. He's got the squad. He's got maybe not got the full team ethic, but they've got everything to have a good World Cup. They're on the side of the draw where they can, and Brazil and Argentina.
They're not in your top three though.
No, but what I'm saying is though, my three best teams, because obviously Argentina and Brazil, they have to cross paths. Someone's getting to the final, someone's not. Yeah. On the other side of it, and with Spain, I'm saying that I like Spain as what they can do when you're in hot conditions and they're just passing the ball around. You can't prepare to play a team like Spain because no one plays like them. So when you play against Spain, you've got to adapt on the fly. And how good are you? Making something happen when you get a couple of moments. It's not easy at all. That's why I do. But what I'm saying is this could be the World Cup, I think, where you do get Ronaldo, given what's happened and all the players Portugal have got, of going all the way, and Messi. I think it could be a Messi Ronaldo final, and I think Argentina's just got the best team. Obviously Brazil will have something to say, and even at 200 years old, Thiago Silva's brilliant at centre back. Marquinhos had a car crash against. I
think he's one of the best centre backs in the world, still. Me,
Thiago Silva,
Marquinhos.
All right, Marquinhos, very very accomplished, but had a car crash away to Real Madrid at the end of last season when they conceded.
We all have a bad game, but let's face it.
No, what I'm saying is that was the main game. If we want to put a bit of blame on Messi,
Harry Maguire, is it? Come on.
If you want to, I'm just saying, if you want to blame Messi for the penalty in the first game, you've got to look at Marquinhos' involvement in the 3 goals they gave away, or certainly the last 2. It was definitely not what I expect from Marquinhos, but they've got a good defence, haven't they?
I'm sure we'll be back talking further about the World Cup soon anyway. That's for sure. A month of it. Let's enjoy it. Today, Ecuador won 2-0. And
at least it puts the corruption to bed for a little bit. But I mean, do you have...
But listen, we still have to talk about these topics.
Do you even care about the World Cup?
Not really. And the ammo.
To be honest, there's no Garnacho. I couldn't really care less at this moment. If England win it, I'd be happy for some of my friends. Mars, Buggy in particular. But generally, anyone who knows me, I'm not pining for England to win it. I don't want Argentina to win it, even though I think they're the favourites and I think they'll win it. And I had a cheeky bet with a colleague. I was like, listen, I'll give you £100 if England win it. I just want 50 if Argentina win it. And he snapped my hand off. So I'm all down for that. But I don't want Argentina to win it. The way they conducted themselves in Italia 90, the whole Argentina-Italy vibes. I know there's a close relationship, but not on the football pitch for me. There's a little bit of rivalry simmering. I don't want Brazil to do anything and get to 6 World Cups. I don't want Germany to do anything. Do I want Cristiano to have all the success? Not really. Even if he doesn't play and he's injured all tournament, he'll be on the sidelines milking the limelight, won't he? And saying, I won the World Cup and I'm the greatest of all time. And I'll be like, no, you're not. So I don't want Spain to do it. I want them all.
Listen, it doesn't have to be like this. Let's just enjoy the tournament for what it is.
Well, see, really looking forward to the World Cup. He's already checked out, and I might check out too. And not interested about this World Cup. Forza Italia and Garnacho. We'll see you at the next United game. Come on, Garnacho.